Thank you, Chair.
Honorable nominee, do you have a copy of the contract with you, please? Please look at the charges, if there is any provision for charges, and apprise us as to. I want to follow up on the leader's question that the rental, because according to you, Ghana Airport wrote to PP that it wants to undertake this transaction with another company. They need the approval under a particular provision. They write back saying that the nature of the services you should use your internal administrative procedure. Now, look at that contract you have before you, the aspect relating to charges, if there is, and in detail, give us in each category what charges or what revenue Ghana Airport Company is supposed to get or generate from this, so that we will know whether it is only rental of office space or the Ghana Airports Company is benefiting from other charges apart from the renting of the office space.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, per the contract that I'm having, I can't cite any charges in this contract. What I normally know is that Ghana Airport Company get royalties from all their clients at the airport. That is all.
Chairman, Chairman is acting after Chairman. Minister,
if it's a rental space, what do you call royalties? Are you referring to rent?
Mr. Chair, then you should read which aspect? Read all the charges.
And then, Chairman, just to what Honorable Deputy Leader have asked, Minister-designate, when you are reading the contract, probably you may not have the kind of training the Deputy Leader or the Chair or I have. Read the recitals of your contract for our record. We want you to read. Contract between, give us the names with the date. Thank you for our records.
Mr. Chairman, it reads so: agreement between Ghana Airport Company Limited and Frontiers Healthcare Services Limited for the provision of COVID-19 testing service at the airport arrival Terminal 3, Kotoka International Airport, Accra. Mr. Chairman, let me check purpose of contract terms agreement. Mr. Chairman,
there should be a revenue portion.
Yes,
Mr.
Chairman,
provision.
4.21, now the Honorable Deputy Minister is asking for, state that whatever the Ghana Airport Company, GACL and LANCC recognize that this agreement has been hesitated by COVID-19, and given a national emergency have agreed that the LANCC shall pay GACL $10 per test conducted. That's it.
And what are the charges again? What other charges?
Mr. Chairman, I will come back if I find any charges again. But
Honorable Member, you said you can give us copies.
Yes,
do you have extra copies with you now?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I have extra copy.
If you have extra copies, can you give?
No, I don't have an extra copy. When I finish the transaction, I can.
Oh, very well. I thought you have extra copies now, which we could look at.
What is the validity of this contract, please? Yes, when
Mr. Chairman, it's for 2 years.
Now, it came up strongly that the company, Frontier Healthcare Services, is not even a registered company in Ghana. From what you have seen on the document, the contract, is it stating Frontier Healthcare Services Ghana Limited, or does it appear on the face of the document that this is a a registered company in Ghana?
Mr. Chairman, per the information that I have, the company is a registered company in Ghana.
And have you received any briefing with respect to how Ghana Airport Company came to a decision to rely on this company and none other?
Mr. Chairman, per the information that I have, the brief I have from Ghana company was that this company approached them and they proved that they have the capacity to undertake the project. And I don't have any reason or any information again that other company also approached them.
So, is it your case that those equipment from the briefing you received, the equipment they are using at the airport, are not one of such equipment that are being used by other laboratories already in the country?
Mr. Chairman, when PPA, when they approach Ghana Airport Company that they have the capacity to and that they have the equipment, like I said, they wrote to Food and Drugs Authority to authenticate or certify the equipment that they are using. So basically that is what they did. Whether the other people are using other facilities, I do not have knowledge about it.
But I am following up with this because there's this strong view that, oh, Noguchi is there doing testing and all that. Why another company doing testing at the airport? Perhaps some people are of the view that, oh, why didn't Noguchi set up at the airport? I mean, it's come up strongly. My colleague Ablako has expressed a strong view, especially the cost. Would you, upon confirmation, impress upon them to look at their charges? We already know that for ECOWAS citizens, by virtue of heads of state coming to a certain agreement, we are enjoying some rebate. But would you consider engaging them to further look at this, since it has become a matter of public concern?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, anything that will make a Ghanaian happy or satisfied, I will do. If people are complaining that the cost is too much, when I'm giving a note, you all sit down, I'll sit down with them, interrogate those figures. If it is possible that they can reduce it, why not? You ask for what is good. One, the quality of the product must be such that it will be able to certify what they are required to do. And if it is possible that they can reduce the price, why not? You also that if we can negotiate with them, I don't have any problem. Now ECOWAS has come out legislating, giving directive that every ECOWAS member should be paid $50, and I'm sure they are complying. If it is possible that we can have a further discussion with them, saying that non-ECOWAS citizens are complaining. Is there anything that you can do about it based on the job that you are doing? If you look about your cost and you think that you can release, why not? You all want to make people happy, and you sit down and you decide you can negotiate with them. We'll do that.
Have you had the opportunity to get briefing on what is happening in Nigeria regarding COVID testing at the airport? Nigeria, have you had any briefing regarding how testing is done at the Nigerian airport?
My information is that Nigeria is doing PCR, we are doing antigen. So there are two different things involved. We are not doing the same thing.
Mr. Chair, I shall tell the nominee to letter and half and say, I shall tell the nominee to letter and half as a proper way to remain upright. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You said you tell him to do what?
Mr. Chair, normally all squares and perpendiculars are perfect points. So I'm only asking him to letter and half to remain upright. I thank you.
Very well. That is not English. Yes, Honorable Blacker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to begin by requesting the nominee to have a look at his CV because the name we have from His Excellency the President is quite different from what you have here. Though you tell us you are going to indicate your first and middle names, we only see Ofori. The surname is Asiamah, but your first name appears missing from your CV, or have you done a change of name? Are you now Mr. Ofori Asiamah?
Mr. Chairman, what I said is what I've just said is true. My name is Ofori Asiamah. Myself and President, we are all Kwaku, so you always want to add Kwaku to my name. So if you did add Kwaku to my name, that is a reason. But my name on my certificate is Ofori Asiamah.
So for the record, officially, can you help us officially?
Mr. Chairman, officially, my name is Ofori Asiamah.
Not Kwaku Ofori Asiamah, as the President informs this committee.
On Wednesday, so my name is Kwaku Ofori Asiamah, but what is on my certificate is Ofori Asiamah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the nominee will help us, probably working with the clerk, to just clean up a few matters. Page 2, epidemiology. Page 3, the conferences attended in Abuja and other matters. I'm sure that can be clarified and corrected with the clerk later. I want to quickly take off from where the Honorable Afenyo Makin left off on the Frontiers Healthcare Services Limited contract. Can you kindly tell the committee when the contract was signed, the contract before you? What is the date? When was it signed?
Mr. Chairman, the contract was signed on the 1st of September 2020.
So the contract was signed on the 1st of September 2020, which is the same day they began operations, because the Ghanaian airspace was open on the 1st of September. You are telling this committee that the contract was signed the same day they began operations. Is that the information?
Mr. Chairman, by the document before me, the contract was signed on the 1st of September 2020. So if the honorable member is saying that,
You know when they began operations?
I can't remember, but I know that this contract was signed. But if you say so, I will not argue with you.
Yes, they began operations on the 1st of September. There are two laws. You've talked about the PPA writing to the company to say that this matter. It's interesting that mere office rental is no longer a PPA matter. But let's come to these two laws. The Health Institutions and Facilities Act 2011, Act 829. Section 11 of this law provides facilities to be licensed. 11.1. A person shall not operate a facility unless the facility is licensed under this act. 2. A person shall not operate equipment in a facility specified in the first schedule unless the facility in which the person operates is licensed under this act. And if you come to the first schedule, for our purposes, this will fall under item numbered I, section 11.2I, clinical and biomedical laboratory. The company started operations on the 1st of September when the airport was open. I have here the certificate that the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency issued, and is dated 3rd November 2020. Have you been briefed as to how come the Frontiers Healthcare Services operated for well over 2 months in violation of Section 11 of the Health Institutions and Facilities Act before they were licensed?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, what I stated or what I tried to state was the role that Ghana Airport Company played so far as this concession agreement they have with Frontiers and renting them the space at the airport is concerned. I think that any other thing that they are supposed to do, maybe there are state institutions which are supposed to, maybe the Minister of Health, I don't know why that can happen, but maybe I think that maybe truck driver like me
Honorable, do you know for a fact that at the time they started, they had, is it HEFRA? Honorable Kujato, is it HEFRA?
Yes, please,
They
HEFRA.
had the HEFRA registration. Do you know that for a fact or not?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know.
The second law, the Fees and Charges Miscellaneous Provisions Act 2018, Act 983, requires that Ghana Airport Company Limited or the minister in charge of the sector should come to this house. Section 3 of this law is very clear. Before the 150 United States dollars could have been charged. That was not done. Have you received any briefing why this was not done? The Fees and Charges Miscellaneous Provision Act, Act 983, breached.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know. I think that this is a private sector business, and ministries or agencies don't come here to do fees and charges for the private
The
sector.
question was, have you received any briefing?
No, Mr. Chairman, no, not to my knowledge.
Mr. Chairman, can the nominee look at the signatories of the account, the contract, the signatories of the contract? Can you tell us who signed on behalf of Frontiers Healthcare Services?
The name of the person is Dr. Emmanuel Akwe. The designation is a director, and Ghana Airport was signed by Yakwapa, the managing director.
How do you, honorable nominee, how do you react if I inform you that per the incorporation documents which I have here, only 2 directors are listed at the Registrar General's Department? Jean-Laurent Louis and Samuel Bansa are the only 2 directors. So the
Only 2 directors of who?
Of Frontiers Healthcare Services. The incorporation documents I have here from the Registrar General's Department.
I don't think that's a fair question to him. I don't think it's a fair question to him. He's only giving us a briefing.
Okay. Was the honorable nominee briefed on these directors, Jean-Laurent Louis and Mr. Samuel Bansa? Did the GSCL deal with them in any way, shape or form?
Mr. Chairman, I have not been briefed about the directors of Ghana Registrar General's Company.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable, I've allowed you 5 already. You can have the last one.
Well, Mr. Chairman, since I have only one more opportunity, I will use it on another contract which I have been chasing for a long time now, the Ghana-US Defense Cooperation Agreement. The Honorable Aviation Minister told Parliament that Terminal 1 has been leased for 15 years to McDan Shipping Company. And McDan Shipping Company has entered into an agreement with the United States military. We have been looking for that contract. Have you been briefed on that contract, the Ghana-US Defense Cooperation Agreement, McDan versus the US military base, Terminal 1? Do you have any briefing on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have been briefed by Ghana Airport Company that they rented the down floor of Terminal 1 to McDan Shipping Logistics Company Limited in January 2019.
Please, do you have the contract? Are you able to share with the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a copy of the contract. Later, if you do, I can hand it over to you.
If we approve you, you'll be willing to bring that to Parliament?
Yes.
To ask any questions relating to that, won't you? I want your answer to be on record. You'll be willing to bring it to Parliament for any issues relating to that, won't you? I said, should this committee or Parliament approve you and you are appointed as the minister, you will be willing to bring that contract with McDan to Parliament for Parliament to examine it, won't you?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, why after he's approved? Because it's still the president representatives there. He should be able to get the document before his approval.
Now, he is not the minister who was responsible. He said he has been briefed. He's the president representative of his ministry. The transport then did not include this one. Yes, yeah, well.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honourable Minister, I have 3 questions for you. In 2004, the government of Ghana signed a contract with the Maritime Port Services to run the Tema Port on a 20-year concession agreement. MPS is a joint venture between GPHA and MPS Limited, which is in turn a joint venture between Volta Lake Group and APM Terminal, a subsidiary of Maersk, as the 2 main shareholders. There is a JV arrangement which gives Volta Lake 35%, APM Terminal 35%, and GPHA 30%. There are reports sometime last year, a couple of years ago, that the 30% stake that GPHA held for in behalf of the people of Ghana has been diluted. Can you apprise us on this development at the port with regards to Ghana's stake in that joint venture? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Indeed, it is so that Ghana Port and Harbors Authority, representing government, is having 30% shares in the Maritime Port Services Limited. Like you rightly said, so in 2004, when the agreement was signed, GPHA had 30%. The rest of the partners from MPH also had 70%. Mr. Chairman, in 2012, I think they signed what the lawyers call further amendment to the original contract to execute the Terminal 3, what we call Terminal 3 at the port. My information was that GPHA was supposed to advance some money as part of their counterpart funding, which they were finding difficult to pay. So the agreement by the shareholders was that if they didn't have the money to pay by then the other shareholders will pay, then dilute their shares. So that's what actually what happened. So when we assumed office in 2017, the matter came to the attention of government, and we met the shareholders to tell them that instead of them diluting our shares, they should advance us part of our counterpart funding for future dividend, which they did. So now we are able to pay the discussion we have with them. We are able to restore our 30% back. So now GPHA still has 30% shares in MPS.
Okay, so GPHA still has the 30%. That's a big plus for Ghana. Thank you. My second question is on the Maritime Authority. I understand there are 2 arrangements. There's the closed ship registry, and the open ship registry that is practiced in Liberia, which has a lot of revenue prospects for the country. What is your position on this in terms of reorganizing our position as a practitioner of the closed ship registry? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, indeed it is so there are 2 systems that we know about when we have the closed registry and open registry. Because Ghana don't have a ship, we used to have the Black Star line, so we didn't allow anybody to flag our flag as it. So we have now, unfortunately, over the years, the then shipping line has collapsed. So what we are trying to do with other shipping vessels or shipping lines is that, like you said, Liberia is part of the system whereby they allow other private or other countries to flag their flag as they so that they give you golden shares or they have some form of revenue for you. That is why we are having discussion with them. If we're not to be the covered, I'm sure we would have seen 1 or 2 ships flying the flag of Ghana. So that is we are having discussion with some of the vessel owners to see that they will come around and do this until such a time that we'll be able to acquire our own ship. Thank you.
It's something that you are considering. Okay, the last question is, it's an arrangement between Jean Dunol and Ibistek that a 370 million USD multi-purpose terminal, Atlantic Terminal project in Takrady, was signed by your good self on the 19th of December 2018. Can you apprise us on this project and how it's going to benefit the good people of this country, or how it has benefited us so far? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if you look at the Takrady Airport, it was built in 1928. So definitely the depth of the sea is very narrow. And now shipping lines want a deeper sea so that they will bring a bigger vessels. Then their cost of operation will be reduced. So when we assumed office in 2017, GPHA has already built a quay wall, about 650 meters quay wall, so that we can build upon it to develop in terms of deeper seas. So we took a decision that we will, because we didn't have the money, the investment required to do that project. So we decided to engage private people to see if they can partner GPHA to do it. Mr. Chairman, what is significant about this particular project is that the President insisted that we should let the Ghanaian business people, what we call the indigenous Ghanaian people, we should try and see if they can have the capacity to lead the arrangement of this project. So Ibistek, which is a wholly owned Ghanaian company, then we approached that, because already they have started something called Takote GPH at Takrady. They are doing offshore business for them. So we decided that we would try them and see. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, sorry, I'm used to speak to the President too. Mr. Chairman, I can speak to the glory of the Lord that they'll be able to secure the funding for this project. If we're not to be the covered, they would have opened to traffic by the middle of this year. But I'm hoping by the end of the year, the first berth should be able to open, and the depth is 60 meters. So it's as deep as the one we're having in Temaport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well, Honorable Nominee, I tell you, he does. Because you were not in charge of aviation, it's a matter I'll raise with you perhaps after the vetting. A national carrier and, a flight with state interest or a national carrier, like we often say, is something that I'm passionate about. And perhaps it is a discussion that we can have after this. But Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I want to read 2 paragraphs of a letter from the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority dated January 11, 2021 to the nominee and follow up with a question after that. Now, this letter was written to the Chief Executive Officer, Fruit and Export Terminal. The second paragraph is where I'll start from. As we did communicate to you in the said meeting, GPHA has been directed by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, and I emphasize mine, GPHA has been directed by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture to issue a license to Fruit Terminal Company Limited, FTC, to enable them to undertake the handling, stevedoring and shore handling, that's into brackets, of horticulture product exports in the port of Tema. The license is to cover the full scope of activities performed by FTC under the defunct 2009 agreement. Defunct, again, Mr. Chairman, is my emphasis. Agreement signed with FTC, i.e. the stevedoring and shore handling of horticulture products exports. According to the Minister of Agriculture, the directive is informed by the government's desire to promote the development of the horticultural segment of the agricultural sector. The Minister further noted that reports he received from FTC indicate that the birth of FET has created a bottleneck to the exports of fruits through the port of Tema, and that the operations of FET are unduly adding to the cost of shipping horticultural products exports from Ghana. The position of the Minister of Agriculture requesting GPHA to issue a license to FTC is supported by the Minister of Transport. Mr. Chairman, I did emphasize two things because when the Minister of Agriculture appeared before this honorable committee, he denied giving this directive to the GPHA. Again, he said the 2009 agreement had not been referred to as defunct by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. In this letter that I quote to you, it is said that you with the Agri Minister, even though the Agri Minister told us here that it was a matter you were still discussing together. Here in this letter, we are told that it has been concluded. Now, my question relates to the third paragraph, which reads, we reckon that the directive of the Minister of Agri, when carried out by GPHA, will offend the concession agreement we executed with you on May 18, 2015, which granted you rights to handle the horticultural products and related operations. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to decline the directive considering the source and the motive behind it. There's already a lawsuit or a hint of one written by lawyers of FET. Mr. Nominee, they're hinting at suing us for $50 million plus. What is the assurance to this committee and the people of Ghana that we will not have a needless judgment debt before us based on these directives that have been given to GPHA, which you approve of?
Mr. Chairman, this matter had come to my notice. I don't know when this matter was written. This letter, was written. But Mr. Chairman, this matter has come to my notice about 2 years ago. But Mr. Chairman, my simple advice, not that I cannot speak to this issue. GPHA is a corporate institution. We have internal mechanisms with which these matters are resolved. Mr. Chairman, the danger we are posing is that if we don't take time, anytime such matters do come up publicly, the credit rating of such public institutions are downgraded. We are being treated as a high-risk institution. I will plead with members of this House that this is the matter that I was handling until the election took place. Thankfully, I'm back. Like you rightly said that the Agri Minister did indicate that he was handling the matter with me. I will plead with the members of this House that they should leave this matter for me. We will resolve the matter amicably. Rather than coming to do this thing publicly, which will have consequences on the operations of the GPHA. I can assure members of this House that we started resolving this matter about 2 years ago. We've gotten to what we call a conflict dispute stage, that we were almost always concluding the matter until the election took place. So Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I would like to plead with members, the honourable member, that you should be assured that this matter will be resolved. But I wouldn't want to discuss this matter publicly because of the image of GPH. Mr. Chairman, I would like to plead with you.
All the assurance the honourable member wants is that you ensure that there is no judgment debt against the country.
Mr. Chairman, I think the stage that we go to, we will bring amicable solution to the matter, and there will be no judgment on the GPH or on the state.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick follow-up on that. So is the honourable nominee saying that the January 11, 2021 letter which seem to have settled this matter, can be disregarded or should be disregarded because you are still in talks to resolve this matter in a different way, which may not lead to Ghana being sued?
Mr. Chairman, I think that this letter should be disregarded because even on the January 11th, there was no minister responsible for any sector to go in and resolve these matters. Like I said, we have started a resolution to this matter. So please, like I said, you can disregard this letter and you find a solution to the problem.
Thank you. Honorable nominee, Okada was a very debatable topic before the last elections, to legalize or not to legalize. You indicated that at the time the debate was taking place, you were already in talks with stakeholders to legalize Okada. The news reports suggested so. The Vice President said a different thing to contradict what you were reported to have said. Will you lead a campaign to legalize it or not?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think that I never said anywhere that you were leading stakeholder consultation to legalize Okada. I don't know what that is. I said that you were doing stakeholder consultation.
You do.
What we will do is that, yes, we still stand by the position of the Vice President. As the condition pertains today, we will not be able to legalize Okada today because the numbers are not pointing to the direction that we should legalize Okada. Knowing that the issue of enforcement, you see, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to be an ostrich. If there's a problem, we should all point to it. We are having an issue of enforcement in this country. And based on what is pertaining on the ground today, it will be difficult for me to lead to the legalization of Okada. If by tomorrow, thankfully the police are trying to modernize their system of traffic control. If by tomorrow, a year, the conditions in terms of traffic management, in terms of enforcing regulation, becomes conducive, why not? We were but sitting here today and knowing that enforcement is an issue in this country. And Mr. Chairman, let me tell you one thing. In 2010, the people who died out of motorcycle or tricycle was 210. The 2020 figures, out of 2,500 people who died from road accident, 1,050 is as a result of motorcycle. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, it is, like I said, that's the position of the party or the government today. If by tomorrow the police is able to come out with conditions that will make it conducive for it to legalize it, why not? But for today, what is pertaining, that's the position.
Honorable Minister, when you say Okada, are you referring to two-wheelers or it includes the three-wheelers?
Mr. Chairman, initially, we didn't have the Abubo yards in the system. So it was the two-wheeler. But the law says, the 2180 says that unless the vehicle or unless the motorcycle has four-wheeler, so it presupposes that the Abubo yard is inclusive per the definition of the law, because the time that 2180 was enacted, there was no Abubo yard in the system.
Actually, I can say that some people had brought them in and were seeking to commercialize them. That's why we're specific on the three-wheelers, so we targeted, but there was a specific provision. I was actively involved in drafting of that one, but the three-wheelers should not be licensed for commercial use. That's where the challenge is. If I take it and use for my private purpose, I can ride. The challenge is whether you can use it to carry fare-paying passengers. If you use it for delivery of parcels, food, that is also commercial. But it is when you take fare-paying passengers, that's where the challenge is. But yes, your views are well noted. Yes, Honourable Member, you continue.
Mr. Chairman, you are right. There are more challenges with that law. I mean, when you can use it privately. So I can, with my motorbike, give someone a ride, a pillion ride, as long as I'm not charging the person, then I'm not breaking the law. But once I decide to make money out of the motorbike I have bought, then it becomes criminal. So those are some of the interesting issues with regard to the law. But you have stated that regardless, it will not be legalized. My next question has to do with the controversial Keta port. Yeah, you can some say Keta. I'm sure you know, Moscow or Moscow. There's a Director General. There's a Director General for the non-existent port, drawing salary from the people of Ghana. You were in the 7th Parliament and you gave assurances. Yes. He was in Parliament and gave assurances in the 7th Parliament. He was in Parliament, in the 7th Parliament, and gave assurances. Yes, thank you. And gave assurances that by the end of 2020, yes, you came to Parliament and you gave the assurance that by the end of 2020, we're going to see some work being done.
In 2016, the President made a solemn promise to the people of Volta Lake that indeed, if he's voted into office, that project, one particular project, that he will have to execute before his time expires. Mr. Chairman, in 2018, because building the port is not an event, but it's a process, I need to take a little bit of time to explain this thing, because I have been to this house, like you rightly said, to explain the processes with which we are following to develop the port. Yet, anytime they keep on asking this particular question. So in 2018, the President declared that particular area after the chiefs and people of Kita, and let me say that, let me thank the overlord of Anglo traditional area for giving us the area for the port. So the President, after the coordinates have been done by GPH and the Soviets, declared the area the port zone through the Attorney General's office so it has been published. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, we engaged a consultant because this stage is as important as putting the infrastructure in its place. People are waiting to see that the infrastructure is there. But if you don't go through these processes properly, and you transgress any of them, we are going to have a problem. So GPHA in 2019 engaged Sehon from Germany as a reputable marine consultant to take the feasibility studies or to do the feasibility studies for us. Mr. Chairman, when I came to the house, I did brief the house that by the third quarter to the end of 2020, Sehon was supposed to give us the draft brief for GPHA to pass our comment. And by the March this year, the final document will be with us. So, Mr. Chairman, indeed, around November, December, Sehon presented a draft copy to GPHA. We've gone through, we've given them their comment. They have assured us that by end of February or early 1st March, they will give us the final draft for us to either approve or disapprove it. Then they can issue the final feasibility studies for it. Because like you said, the feasibility studies will determine the level of infrastructure you need to put in place. You see, the marine work is such that, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, if we don't take our time and do a proper work, by putting up that port, the whole coastline will be disturbed. So I plead with members of this House that the stages that we are going through, or the stage that we are going through now, is as important as putting the infrastructure in place. And I can assure you that between April and May, we will do our market sounding about Kita Port. We will start the market sounding about Kita Port for prospective investors. We will brief them about the port that we are putting in place. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we can start the real engagement of building the port. So the process that we are going through now is as important as building the infrastructure is. And if we don't go through or we truncate any of the processes, we are going to have problems. So, honorable member, I think we are on track. Despite the COVID situation, checking our timelines, we are still on track, and I can assure you that we go to town around June for the procurement process, for the prospective. Whether government is going to build itself with its own, or we will do PPP, or whatever arrangement that we put in place. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My final question relates to the Ghana Maritime Authority. Ghana Maritime Authority. It was in the news for not very good reasons when the former director was accused of conflict of interest and other related charges. He was asked to, he resigned. It was suggested that he was past 65, and that was the reason why he was resigned. Was his resignation related to the allegations that were raised against him, and you directed an investigation to be carried out? Why haven't you made the report public yet?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, like the honorable member at least says that the man resigned because, according to him, he was 65. I don't know whether he resigned based on the report. But, Mr. Chairman, I think, like he said, right, the board did some work about Ghana Maritime Authority concerning that particular issue. I don't know if the report has been issued or not. If not, I'll find out. Then still, if it doesn't brief the House or do the needful. So that is not of a problem. Thank you.
Yes, Hassan first. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Asiamah, I congratulate you. I have obtained the official report, parliamentary debates of Wednesday, 19 February 2020, in which matters relating to the issues that Honorable Ablakwa passionately raised. And the report captures him as having made those observations here in the report. Honorable Sunyani also posed some questions on that occasion, including the Honorable Minority Chief Whip. Matters relating to Terminal 1, especially. Related to these, Terminal 2 also came up. And the minister said there was a report that was being generated as far as Terminal 2 is concerned. I don't know whether you have been briefed about that report on what exactly we have to do with Terminal 2. I know we have Terminal 3, which is virtually serving the whole world. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this matter had come to my attention, like you said. The ministry and Ghana Airport Company were engaging some private sector people to use Terminal 2 for some other activities. Unfortunately, the people who came up to take this place for the business that they have earmarked for were hit with this COVID business. So I think the negotiation has stalled a bit because of the COVID. Let's pray, and I'm hoping that we will be able to find antidote to this pandemic so that we have our normal life. Then we can then go back and re-engage the people, because we want the private sector people to do that business. They think that their thinking was that they can only break up their investment if we have full operations at the airport. So I'm hoping that when we have full operations at the airport, they will come back again for the negotiation to continue. But we have plans of letting the place or renting it to some private business people to use it for their things so that we can earn revenue from them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like you to update this committee on the current state of affairs of the whole airport, the newly constructed whole airport. What exactly is the state of affairs at the airport right now? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Ghana Airport Company, I think, completed, or the construction was completed in December 2018. In 2019, we had informed the operator, that is Passion and Hour, that the whole airport was ready for them to start for their commercial operation. Mr. Chairman, according to the brief, they also asked for us to give them some time in order for them to do their own assessment and see if they could fly to go. Then this COVID came in. But I can assure the House that our had approached us again, or our had approached the ministry saying that by June they will commence commercial operation to whole airport. In addition to that, we think that the whole airport has some advantage, that the way it is positioned, we can use the place to train pilots. So government is partner with the private sector. Even Togo Afede has even approached us that he has some investors that we think that we can use the whole airport for training of pilots. These are some of the options that we are weighing, and we think that we will be able to fund private people who are interested. Other governments, we open up the place for commercial operation that our had promised us. And we can also have some private sector people who will join us in using it for other training or other for airport facilities that we need to offer to the Ghanaian people. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Eric.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, you have been the Minister for Transport for the last 4 years. Kindly explain to the committee 3 relatively simple and inexpensive measures you rolled out to make public transport more attractive to customers and more efficient to operate in Ghana.
I did not hear part of the question. If the honorable member can repeat it, because
What are your plans? You want 3 or more plans to make public transport attractive to the public, attractive to customers. If you have 3 plans or steps you will take. Oh, in the past. Oh, okay. What you have done in the past to make public transport efficient in operations and attractive to passengers or customers.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if we talk about public transport in this country, they are in 2 sections. We have what we call the private sector people and the government people. So I don't know which area you talk, whether you're talking about the private sector or the government. Because
whatever information you have, private or public,
yes,
are interested.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of public transport is in 2 sections. Like I said, the government will pay public transport, and the
Honorable Minister, go ahead.
yes, Mr. Chairman, one, like I said, it is in 2 sections. There's a role that the government can play for the public transport in terms of the government, its role in paying the public transport, and the private sector offering public transport. Mr. Chairman, if we talk about the government role in terms of STC and MMT, when we assumed office, we realized that their fleet was very down. So what we needed to do was to revamp the fleet for the public the government role in terms of the public transport, as I'm talking about STC and MMT. So for MMT, we will be able to acquire 100 buses for them. STC, we have also be able to acquire 100 buses for them. The government is trying to arrange Korean Exim facility for the private sector people. Mr. Chairman, we came to this house. Unfortunately, we could not meet. The transport committee could not finish its work early for her to revamp it. So we are not going to only deal with the government institutions while public transport is concerned, but also try to help the private sector to arrange buses for them also to help us to. The second thing was, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, 2020 we were hit by COVID, and let me use this opportunity to thank the transport commercial operators for the role that they played in helping government in solving this problem. Initially, we asked them to reduce their intake without additional cost, which they did for some time, and got to a point in time that they could not do it again, and government had to come in to allow them to, in and that their business was going to collapse. Mr. Chairman, going forward, because of safety issue, it is also important. We have passed law in this house to say that the National Road Safety Authority should become a regulator in the public transport system to regulate the transport operators. Because hitherto there was not operator, there was not a regulator. So it's rather one thing that I think that we have done in terms, it may not yield physical identity, but in terms of arrangement, in terms of regulation, we will be able to regulate them better to provide the kind of services that we require of them to do. Thank you very much.
Chairman, my second question. You know, Ghana, we produce a lot of gas, natural gas, in the western part of the country. And this question relates to the pipeline transport system. We have some plans in the east, but because of the inefficient pipeline transport system, we are unable to transport gas from the west to the east to feed some of the plants that we have. As the Minister for Transport, what is the state of the pipeline transport system in Ghana, and how do you propose to improve upon it?
What transport system? Pipeline transport. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we are in this way, we are working because the gas line is under the Ministry of Energy. We are working together with them to develop this facility that we are seeing. So we've gone far in it, and I'm sure maybe when the Minister for Energy comes here, he will brief you because he is leading that project, and we are working together with them. Thank you very much.
The Chairman, my last question has to do with water transport. The oldest and the cheapest means of transport all over the world is water transport. What did you do in the last 4 years to ensure efficient water transport system in Ghana? Specific.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The water transport system that we have in this country, I can say that it relates to what is on the Volta Lake. Mr. Chairman, when we assumed office, one area that we were facing a lot of challenge was the tree stumps in the lake, which was causing a lot of accidents in the Volta Lake. So Ghana Airport Company, Ghana Maritime Authority, which is responsible for safety on the lake, because if any private sector person is even coming to operate, and this tree stump is causing a lot of accidents for them, they wouldn't even want to come because it's expensive to remove them. So what we did was to have a navigable route of crossover services and remove the tree stumps. So now we have removed the tree stumps in most of these navigable routes. So if you realize that the accident of the Volta Lake, in terms of accident caused by the tree stumps, has reduced. I'm not saying that it's completely eradicated, it has reduced drastically. So because of that, we are receiving a lot of proposals from the private sector people saying that now the lake is safe for them to operate. In addition to that, in 2016 or 2017, the government of Ghana, because of the bilateral arrangement we have with Korean government, had proposed that they were going to give us some amount of money for public transport system. When we came in 2017, we pursued it. But the Koreans had then changed their policy in relation to, because they thought that the transport system was not social services enough for them to pursue that matter. So they asked her to rearrange. And the president told them, look, it was not the fault of the people within that area that they should be cut off from the rest of us. That is the only means of transportation mode for them. So now we sat down with the Korean government. They did a feasibility studies on this, on the lake. Mr. Chairman, I can say it to the glory of the Lord that they through the feasibility studies. It was done by a Ghanaian company called Darren Consort. The Koreans have been here. They are satisfied with what we've done with the lake, and they are going to construct a lot of landing site, reception areas, roads, and give us ferries to make the transportation system on the lake very conducive for the people. So basically, for the 4 years, this is what we've done, and I think that we've done enough. We've paved the way for the private sector to come in to operate the lake.
Yes, John.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominee. One key project that we are highly expecting in Ashanti region is the Buankra Inland Port. I must commend you for the efforts you have put in so far to make sure that you revive the inland port. In fact, on 5th November 2020, His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in the company of His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, cut another sword for the commencement of the Buankra Inland Port. This was after about 18 years since the conception of the project. Despite the allocation of $330 million for this project, what firm assurances do we have, or are you giving us today, that this project will be completed in time and will not be left hanging as have happened in the past?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. I haven't received any news from the concessionaire that they have faced any challenges so far as the Buankra project is concerned. What they've told me is that they can start the project because their timeline was that by October they should start by April this year they should start the construction. But the information I'm having from them is that they finished the financial closure and they think that they can start at the end of March. So at the end of March, the real construction will take place.
Honourable Minister, and that the design take into account the effect on the highway travel and that section of the Accra-Kumasi highway.
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman.
And Chairman, just on the same note, you said financial closure. How much is the concessionaire bringing, and when did they have financial closure? I just heard you speak to that.
Mr. Chairman, the project is in 3 stages. We have phase 1, which is about $120 million. The phase 2 is 180, and the phase 3 is $300 million.
You want to speak to the phases? So phase 1, what are we expecting? Phase 2, what are we expecting? Phase 3, Buankra Inland, what should we expect?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the document. It will be difficult for me to go through the stages that you said, but I know that there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But if this House approves me and they ask me to bring the content or the whole component, I can bring it before the House.
Chairman, still Honorable Ejisu, indulge me. You came to this House, and even in the November of the first term of President Nana Akufo-Addo, you insisted that you wanted this concession done, 330. So speak to it. The people of Buankra probably are listening to the member for Ejisu and want to know what the fate of the Buankra Inland Port is. Because as he said, 18 years, from President Rawlings through President Kufuor, through President Mills to John Mahama, it's not seen the light of day. So speak to it. What should the people of Bonkra and Ashanti expect of you with this 330 million which was approved for the Bonkra Inland project? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, like I said, I can give firm commitment that the project will see the light of day because there's no reason, or they haven't complained to me that they are having any challenges so far the construction of the project is concerned. So far as I'm concerned, we are comfortable and the project will come on.
As a follow-up on the Bonkra Inland Port, we know that the rail lines availability will hugely enhance the efficiency of the inland port. I want to find out if there is a coordinated program between your ministry and the Ministry of Railways to ensure that both the eastern rail line and the western rail line will pass through the inland port.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a coordinated program to make sure that the railway line passes through the Bonkra Inland, Bonkra Logistics Terminal.
Honorable Novini, I commend you on the Bonkra, and as the minority leader rightly intimated, something has been on the drawing board for a very long time. Now, are you able to tell us the deliverables specific to you as distinguished from that of Trade Ministry? Because I know there's some correlation between yourself, your outfit, and that of Trade. I hope there's no confusion.
No, there's no confusion because it is like a terminal. At any port or at any terminal client system, the roles are defined. The responsibility of Minister of Transport is to put up the infrastructure. The Minister of Trade and Minister of Finance will then come in for the operation of the place. So the terms are clearly spelled out.
Yeah. Final question. People with disability are unable to use structural and other forms of public transport in the country. What will you do to ensure that our public transport system is disability friendly?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This matter is very serious. I think my attention has been drawn to it recently by a group of people who came to my office with a complaint to say that they are not able to access public transport. Because, Mr. Chairman, if you look about the Dialolo system, the government mode of public transportation, we have it is disability friendly. But it is only the private sector which controls about 90% of public transport system. That is why they don't have this thing. We are in talking with them. But Mr. Chairman, it comes back again. That government should be able to facilitate funding for the private sector people who are engaged in public transport. But so do we be able to direct them about the need of the disability people. So, National Road Safety becoming a regulator, it is going to be one thing that they are going to insist that going forward, this needs must be satisfied.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Honorable nominee, can you apprise this committee and Ghana on the status? Can you apprise this committee and Ghana on the status of the Sunyani airport? Please, let your brief contain the date that the airport will be reopened for use. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the brief I had from Ghana Airport Company is that the contractor is on site and they are hoping that by the middle or end of this year, we should finish. Once we finish the work that we are doing, we will engage the private operators like our and Passion to see if they can use it. They can go to Sunyani by and can. Madam, the difficulty we are facing, honorable member, the difficulty we are facing is that government doesn't have an airline, as I'm talking to you today. So the private sector people have their own way of assessing whether the route is profitable for them or not. But we are hoping that by the time that the Sunyani airport is concerned, because I know that there's something on the pipeline, the government is in, we are in hurry to have a home-based career. Maybe at that time we would have had a home-based career. They're on our own. We can then practice. But I hope, but I have every reason to believe that by the end or the third quarter or end of this year, you will complete the work at Sunyani Airport. And I have every hope that our or any other airline will then go to Sunyani.
Do you also want to be remembered at the end of your tenure as the minister who started airports in the 6 new regions, and how are you going to do that?
Mr. Chairman, government will try as much as possible to put port infrastructure in every region if it is possible. As much as possible, we would try to put port infrastructure facility in all the 16 regions in this country.
I will keep a copy of this answer. We all know the 6 regions include Bono East. Thank you.
Giselle, I'm told, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, I just want to find out from you the landing beaches. I think about 11 landing beaches were constructed along the coast.
Mr. Chairman, I think now it's about 13 or 12.
13 or 12, all right.
13 or 12.
So the landing beaches were constructed along the coast, according to 13 or 12. But a few of them, I cannot speak for all, but a few of them, especially the one in my constituency, Senyabreku, was either of poor construction or the studies were not done right. But what it was sought to achieve actually turned the other way, to the extent that over 17 fishermen had their fishing teams had their canoes damaged, either from the outboard motors or canoes knocking into each other because of the tidal effect of the tide. And so the breakwater was not able to act in the way or perform the function in which it was supposed to. What measures are you taking to rectify that? Because the sea has never receded in the manner in which it has now. And also, people's livelihood has been affected because the canoes were that badly damaged. And they are very expensive to acquire. That's my first question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't think that we have finished the construction of the landing site. We are still in the process of constructing them. Some are 50%, some are 40%, some are 30%, some are even 10%. So the construction, we haven't finished the construction. Mr. Chairman, the matter that the honourable member mentioned is true. During the construction period, I mean, some of these things are bound to happen. For instance, I know where she's coming from. When during the construction, there were some few issues at the side there. I think that some of the canoes were affected. Some men drew attention to it. I myself, we met them. We brought their concerns to the engineers, taking them into consideration. They promised us that whatever concerns that they have made, they will incorporate it to it. So, Madam Honourable Member, I can assure you that their concerns will be taken into consideration, and I'll make sure that those concerns are addressed. Thank you very much.
My second question, we move to aviation. Why did the nominee shake his head? During the era of President Mahama, when the Terminal 3 project was being conceived and everything being put together, there was a charge called the Airport Passenger Service Charge. During the era of President Mahama, when Terminal 3, KIA's Terminal 3 project was being put up, that and other capital expenditure that the airport company was incurring, there was a charge called the APSC, which was leveraged on to be able to get the loan for the airport infrastructure. Now, in 2019, the government decided to allocate 14% of the APSC and 10% of the landing charges to 3 institutions. GCA, they got 77.5% of APSC. Ministry of Aviation got 1.5% per the GCA Amendment Act. And then GMET got 5% and also 10% of the landing charges. Would you consider a reallocation of this arrangement or the law? Would you consider a reallocation of these charges? The reason being, during the financing in 2014, 2015, it was those monies that were leveraged on to be able to get the loans for Terminal 3 and the others. And since then, they have been eaten away with now this law. And so these are one of the reasons why airport company, aside from over-recruitment and other internal issues that went along, this is the reason why airport company, which was a tier 1 state-owned enterprise, is having such struggles. GACL is often asked to raise APSC when it comes to Hajj flights. And that has been over a period of time. Quite a few agencies like customs and immigration and so on and so forth also use up space in the terminal, which they did not pay for. So there are quite a number of issues that have given them that issue, that problem of whereby, like I said, at first they had a clean bill of health. They had a good balance sheet even to borrow on before, but now they have challenges. Can I finish, please? Unless you want to answer the question for him. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will thank the honourable member for bringing this matter to my attention. If I get there, these are some of the issues that we are going to look at it and see how we can find a solution to it. So maybe I can, from a narrative, she seemed to have a depth of knowledge in the matter. So maybe I can even consult her to help me in resolving the matter, some of the challenges. So,
Mr. Chairman, that's a very tactful way of getting out of the situation. The last one is encroachment on airport lands. The last one is encroachment on airport lands. There are some sensitive equipment that do not need obstacles in their way. Now, when people encroach and build buildings and so on and so forth around near this sensitive equipment, it can actually affect air safety. What are you going to do about that? What drastic action will we take with regards to that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This issue, like you said, is even affecting flight or commercial operation to our airport, because some of the private stations have mounted their mast, and I'm sure, which is affecting the movement and the technical operations of planes and other. My information is that this matter has been brought to the attention of the communication minister to look at it. So, like you said, it is rightly so. We will sit down and see all the state institutions or other people, other private or public, which have facilities along this or around these areas, which is impeding the operations of the airport, to see that we can reallocate them or let them move so that we can have free flow of the flight. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Patricia PJ.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I remember in 2017 when the Honorable Minister nominee attended this house, or attended to this committee, the appointment committee, the issue of frequent accidents on the Volta Lake was of great concern. The minister promised that he was going to take out stumps on the Volta Lake. I want to know the status of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, like earlier I said that before 2017, we were having a lot of accidents being caused by the tree stumps on the Volta Lake. So when we assumed office, what we did is to identify the navigable route for these traditional canoe operators or the ferries. And like I said, what I've done is that we have removed the tree stumps on this navigable route, Dambai, Overbank, Katakrachi, Yeji, Makango, and some few, about 6 or 7 areas were removed the through stamp. So it has reduced the accident on those navigable routes. That is what we have done on the Volta Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My next question is that in some countries, the countries ensure that advertising boards are placed above their buildings. There is a view that the advertising boards erected along the roads contribute to road accidents. Do you agree to this view? And what do you intend to do if given the nod? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this issue had come to the attention of the ministry. Mr. Chairman, since the advertising board are either found in a district or municipal areas, we are now in discussion with the Ministry of Local Government, which rent these spaces to these advertising companies to erect them. In addition to that, like I said, the National Road Safety has now become a regulator. So we are going to come out with the standardization, and we should, the Ministry for Local Government should enforce that whoever wants to erect advertising board must first of all take care of the size and the location. So we are now in discussion with the Ministry of Local Government to make sure that they standardize.
Okay, thank you. Follow up on that. Are you going to collaborate with the local government ministry on this?
Yes, because they give the lands or the space to the advertising companies.
My final question. I'm coming back to the trees, the stumps. I've learned that it's of certain quality, and I want to know what will be the use for the stumps that will be taken out of the Volta Lake, if you have a special program for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my information is that they use it for so many things. But in 2012, my information is that in 2012, the government of Ghana gave the concession on the lake to a private Canadian company. What they did was that they removed what they term the economic value and left the rest that they don't need. So basically, the ones that we can use it for project has all been removed. They concession the lake to them, so they've removed the economic one. They left what they, in their view, what they term on economic value.
Yes.
Honorable nominee, congratulations. My question relates to water transport, and there is a statement here attributed to you dated 5th August 2019, and you are on record as having stated as follows. I want to quote: Government of Ghana is engaging the World Bank to develop the Volta Lake as part of a regional multimodal project to connect the country to neighboring countries from the Tema port, unquote. Now, subsequent to this statement attributed to you, I've become aware that your ministry commissioned 2 studies relative to the Volta Lake and its development. And those 2 studies were sponsored by our development partners, namely the World Bank and the Korean Exim Bank. My question is, why did you commission 2 studies in respect of the same Volta Lake and about the same time?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, 2 studies are going on in the Volta Lake, but they are not for the same purpose. You know, the construction of the railway line from Tama to Akosombo or truncate at Akosombo, we need to use the lake to ferry the goods from there to other Bupe or Yape, wherever we decide to go. So the World Bank, under the Transport Sector Improvement Project, that GSIP, is financing a study, complete assessment study on the lake to detect, because we want the private sector to play that role. And if a private sector must come in, then the private sector person must know that the operation of the lake, that's what we call North-South cooperation, is profitable. So that is what the World Bank is doing. And the project is being undertaken by Vision Consult, a Ghanaian company. The World Bank themselves did the procurement for the consultancy without involvement of government of Ghana, and a Ghanaian company won. For the feasibility studies, the Korean government, like what I said, had decided that what we term as social impact assessment to develop this landing site, the construction of reception area at the Bido Ferry, we have identified a particular project. So they are costing a study, the feasibility study into that project to determine the cost and the location of these areas. And that is what the Koreans are doing. The Koreans are doing feasibility study according to the social amenities they are planned to construct on the lake, while the World Bank is doing a complete study to determine the economics or the economic value or viability of the North-South operation on the lake.
Chairman, if I can indulge you and the Honorable Agalga, just a follow-up, Minister. Volta Lake transport and its development. You have traveled extensively as Minister MP. I have traveled, I believe Chairman too have traveled. If you take Helsinki in Finland, you want to travel to Stockholm, just around Sweden, and probably extending to some of the Nordic countries. They use the same water source, about the same as what pertains between Akusumbo traveling through the water to Bupe in northern region. When you do get approved as minister, what will you do to give light to this dream? You know, it has an advantage of reducing the heavy vehicular traffic, Kumasi, Techima, Kintampo, Kumasi, Accra. What will you do about it? Because what is referred to as a World Bank interest is to make that mode of transportation viable for the people of Ghana. What will you do specific? Should you become minister? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Like you said, the heavy trucks, which is causing a lot of harm or damage on our road, if we develop the lake, not only will it reduce the burden on government, it also cuts the journey from carrying the goods to the north by almost about 400 and something kilometers. So the issues are not, if you're able to develop the lake, it will go into our advantage. That's what I said. That the World Bank, because of the railway line that we are constructing, is causing a study into the economic viability of the lake. Mr. Chairman, here is the case that you want the private sector person to join you to develop the lake. If you don't present studies which are convincing enough to him, he wouldn't come. So before we can do any real investment on the lake, we must know the cost or the investment that we need to do on the lake. And that's what the World Bank is helping us to do. Thankfully for us, Mr. Chairman, the social project that normally scare the private sector people to do are being overtaken by the Korean Exim Bank. So now when they come in, they are only in to do what they claim to be commercial operations on the lake. So I hope that if the World Bank finish the studies, we will get more private people now that the social amenities or what they call social infrastructure project has been taken by government.
Honorable nominee, how much is involved in the Korean Exim support? What specific projects are they going to provide to enhance social services on the lake? And when will the project commence? I want the specifics.
Mr. Chairman, the amount I think it's ranging between 80 to 100 million. I think the Minister of Finance will be able to speak to you because it is part of the master facility arrangement that we are having in Korea Method Bank. But I'm sure it's between 80 to $100 million. Mr. Chairman, like I said, it comprises of constructing modern landing sites on about 6 areas, that is Dambai and Dambai Overbank, Ketakrachi, Yeji, Makango, and Njeri, to construct those landing sites. In addition, they are going to construct modern reception areas for the passengers. If you go, the conditions with which our people stay there to wait for these ferries it's not good, it's very bad. In addition to that, they are going to buy us 2 modern ferries to do the cross ferry services or the crossover ferry services. And they will construct a slipway, they will construct roads leading the lake, because when you immediately cross, there must be roads leading to various villages. They will also construct some roads to the various villages. So these are the components of the project. And when, Mr. Chairman, we are late, I have to confess with you that because of the COVID, the Koreans delayed in coming. So they delayed, they came in, awarded the contract to a Ghanaian consultant. My information is that by the middle of this year, the consultant will complete his work and send the report and the template for the tendering process to the Korea. They will do the procurement process, they will do the procurement tender in Korea, choose a Korean contractor, bring him to join Ghanaian contractors who will do what we call the local component within the project. So I'm hoping that by the 3rd quarter of the year, we should start the project. But now all the arrangements have been completed. So thankfully, the people of beyond the Volta Lake will have some relief.
My last question. Honorable nominee, I have in my hands the budget statement and economic policy for the 2020 financial year. At page 167, I know at the time you served at the Ministry of Transport, Aviation was a separate ministry, but you're going to, the two have now been incorporated. So I'll be asking you to tell me what your briefings reveal in relation to the construction of an airport in the Upper East region. At the moment, when the Upper Easterners arrive in Tamale, you have to travel 3 miles before you get to the Upper East regional capital. Now, at page 3 hours, at page 168, this is what the finance minister said. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I read. In addition, assessment was on the suitability of a potential site identified for an airport in the Upper East region. Feasibility studies will be conducted on the 2 proposed airports to secure funding in 2020. So the assurance here was that funding was going to be secured in 2020 for the Upper East Regional Airport for construction works to begin. We're in 2021. What is your briefing in relation to this subject?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this matter has been brought to my attention, and when I found, I think that we have some few challenges because of the COVID situation. But then the Minister for Finance has assured me that all things being equal, he will make sure that by this year, we will arrange or we will find the funding for the Upper East Airport project. Honorable Member, I know that's where we come from, and your people will be happy that you ask this question. But be rest assured that all things being equal, we will start the project this year.
Yes, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DVLA and online drivers seem to have some issue. And the online drivers were complaining that they were being certain charges were being imposed on them which were not being imposed on other commercial drivers. What has been done to resolve the challenges that online drivers face in this country and to promote the use of apps and other such technology to facilitate public transportation in the country?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Minister is right. This issue has been a major concern between Driver Enhancement Authority and online drivers. The Driver Enhancement Authority is of the opinion that once they are doing commercial business, then they should go through the normal process as other taxi drivers or other people are going through. The online drivers are of a different opinion. And I quite remember that last year the Minister for Communication herself stepped in to try and see how we can resolve the issue. I've had some meetings with the DVLA, and what we need to do, that thankfully, if I'm approved, I will sit down again with the Minister for Communication, and let me thank him for the good job that he did. He stepped in when I was away to make sure that the strike action that the online drivers threatened to embark, he could have. So, Madam Minister, let me use this opportunity to thank you, but I can tell you that.
But, Honorable Minister, what is their complaint? That they are not commercial drivers?
There's some level of misunderstanding, but that they think that they should be treated separately rather than.
As what? Because you're either a commercial driver or a private driver.
Yes, because
if
some of them are
private
saying,
driver, you pay for yourself. But once you have people hire you, just because you use an app, doesn't change it. You must be registered as a commercial driver, even if it's a separate entity, a separate arrangement. But the charges are for commercial drivers, just like taxis. You do twice a year.
Because their position was that additional charges, DVLA was charging them additional, and whenever the additional charges are incurred, the company deduct that in from their earnings, and that was where the difficulty was. But like I said, thankfully the Minister stepped in. We have sat down with the DVLA. We have some level of understanding for them, and I hope that when we approve, we'll be able to resolve this matter. Whether you should treat them separately as a company entities or as mere taxi drivers, and that they should go through the process. Mr. Chairman, I know because you had come from the area, you are very passionate about some of this, but times are changing and we need to also listen to their concerns.
You know, I'm just a comment. There's a group of drivers operating at the airport. They are commercial drivers. They call themselves hiring vehicles. It means that you're commercial, but they don't want to be treated as commercial vehicles. By arrangement, commercial vehicles must do the road. And it is those that they are complaining about. I even insisted that you must be identified as required by law, the yellow background. They said that will bring down their value. That's okay. But twice a year, you must comply. I don't know what that is a problem, but Honorable Minister, please continue.
I believe they were being asked to take some kind of insurance and pay certain fees twice a year and certain charges that they felt were a bit unreasonable in view of the fact that they were franchisees of these international firms. Now, I'm not sure if DVLA has some interaction with the Ubers and Volts and others who are actually the companies that are using the applications and the commercial drivers are franchisees of. But as you've indicated, we'll collaborate and see how we can resolve this issue. Are the Goro boys still at DVLA? Goro boys. I know that some automation and digitization of your services, DVLA's processes has taken place. And I'm wondering if that has driven the Goro boys out of business or they have adapted to the new circumstances and are still in operation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think that today, if you mention DVLA's name, Goroism had come down a bit. I'm not saying that it's completely eradicated. The Guru Boy system had come down a bit. I'm not saying that it's completely resolved. But it's all the issue of transparency, the issue of introducing technology into the system. And if you introduce technology, you don't be stuck, you don't get stuck, don't be stuck in God. So we are keeping on changing our systems. Now we are carrying the services to some companies because timing was an issue. Either two people will come and stay in DVLA for 4 or 5 hours. If we can use, maybe, because my wife works at the commercial bank, I can say commercial bank people, 100 people want lances. We can take the service to their place, offer them the service. So the time that people need to come and spend at DVLA, paying them, staying there for a long time, and they don't get a service, somebody will come, oh, I can get you a service, give it to me. So these are innovations that we are introducing at DVLA, and it has helped us a lot to reduce the level of goloism at the airport. But we are not relenting on our effort.
Did you just coin the term goroism? Or it's something that you just coined goroism?
Guru Boy system.
We did hear some news reports about sky trains imminently coming into this country and sky ports and other new modes of transport. Between yourself and the former railways minister, you did indicate that we should expect some innovations in our transport system in Ghana. When should we expect to see them on our streets?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it is so that we need to diversify our transport system. So last year, between myself and the Minister for Transport, Minister for Railways, the government gave us a policy approval to engage prospective to develop new emerging transport systems, like the Minister said, boardways, light trains. So we are in discussion with them, and I'm hoping that the COVID last year became a huge hindrance on the sort of things that we plan to do. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to, for even the boardway, we've sent the proposal that the people sent to us. We are even sent it to Attorney General Department, for the Attorney General Department to have it, look at it, and advise us the way we should engage them. So that there are prospective developers who are waiting for it, but you must first of all, we have to be sure that we are on the side of law, we haven't erred. So that is where we are now. So when the Attorney General brings us the final report, we will study it, go to Cabinet for a Cabinet memo, then come to Parliament for Parliament to give us approval to start the project of developing the boardways and the light trains. Thank you very much.
My final question. Majority of accidents are largely caused by human error. Human error causes the majority of the accidents on our roads. Now, I know that our law says that the commercial drivers at least must have their eyesight tested regularly. What steps are being taken to ensure, as part of probably the driving license approval process, or to have commercial drivers at least undertake regular eye checks to know that they are capable of seeing the obstacles in front of them and are not just driving blind or near blind?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it is so. If you look at the regulation 2180, it is a requirement for commercial drivers every year have their eye test twice done. Unfortunately, like I said, because we don't have a regulator in the commercial transport area, it is becoming difficult for that aspect to be enforced. Thankfully, National Road Safety Authority has now become a regulator as far as commercial operation is concerned. We are coming to this house with the LI to enable them to come out with the directives so that some of these things will be enforced. They were doing it, but people were not sure whether they should do it. People should go and do the certificate and bring it, or there must be a format with which we do it. And these are some of the things that we are looking at it within the regulation. And once the National Road Safety has become a regulator, it is going to be a requirement for any transport commercial operators for you to get your license. You should make sure that your members have some of these requirements certified before National Road Safety will even issue a commercial transport certificate for you to operate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable nominee, in 2017, when you appeared before this committee, you made a solemn promise that you were going to deploy technology to address revenue leakages at the port. Consistent with that, under your watch, Unipass has been used to replace GCnet, which has caused a number of issues at the port. As we speak now, GRA is calling for the return of GCnet. Can you tell this committee what was the consideration, what were the reasons why Unipass was used to it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think I will start from the last go back there. Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware that customs are today calling for the return of Unipass. That is my first point. My second point is that, Mr. Chairman, if you come to the port, the infrastructure is for, we build the port infrastructure. End-to-end system that is operative at the port there are being handled by Ministry of Trade and Finance. So our view was to put in the infrastructure. They would then operate the end-to-end system. That is it. But like I said, my information is contrary to what the honorable member has said. The last time the document, I think in the graphic or times, I cannot speak. The GRA is saying that upon the coming in of ICOMs or Unipass, their revenue has gone up by 6%. That is what I read in the paper. So I don't know what the honorable member is saying, but I will check. If GRA is calling for the return of Unipass, the honorable member, I will check them. If it is so, then I'll find out the reason why they say Unipass, GCnet should come back, then I can address. But so far as I'm concerned, I don't have that information.
Very well. Secondly, ahead of the 2020 elections, you made a promise that you were going to build a new airport at Cape Coast and a new harbor. When should the people of Cape Coast expect the commencement of this project?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the airport, if anybody should be excited about airport in Central, it is me, because that's where I come from. And I want that airport to be built as today. But we need to go through, and I know that the ministry has started something. We'll make sure that we speed it up, to make sure that my own region has an airport. And I think that I want to be on record that it is during my time that we build the Cape Coast Airport. So I will ensure that it is built.
So will you start this year, upon your confirmation?
Mr. Chairman, in this matters, the processes are important, and we do not truncate any of the processes. So maybe when I assumed office, I will sit down with the ministry for her to see the timelines, because we've given a commitment. But timelines and the process that we need to go through are as important as the infrastructure itself. So we will make sure that we speed up the processes, but not to truncate any of them, which will have effect on the airport. But we will follow the timeline to make sure that within the 4 years, the airport is built. Thank you.
Yeah, that will be there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, honorable nominee. I have two questions. The first one relates to an earlier question that was asked about road transport and what you've done in 4 years to make it attractive to both passengers and in the industry players. And you did mention that you had acquired some fleet of STC buses and some metro mass transport. Will you be able to share with us the mode of distribution of these? And I'm interested in the metro bus to the various across the country, because sitting here as a native of Salaga, I don't think your answer will resonate with myself and my constituents, because we don't have anything on our roads. And if you make a trip there, you feel sorry seeing the mode of transport. If people have to go to Tamale, they get on rickety 207 buses that have the bonnets open, and sometimes it breaks down 3 times on the road before they get to Tamale. How did we end up like this? If you can answer, give me an answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it is the responsibility of government to provide decent transport system for its people. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, that in 2018-2019, we were able to acquire additional 100 buses to Metro Mass. I don't know the way the distributions are done. Madam Honorable Member, I will find out if indeed there's none on your road. I will make sure. I will find out why so, and make sure that if it's possible, we need to. But let me assure you that the buses, as of today, are not enough. That they are not enough. That's not to say that we shouldn't have the fair share of the little. Parliament has given us approval for additional 100 buses with the Belgium facility. We are done with the procurement processes. They are manufacturing the buses for it. I want to assure this out, that now that we've drawn attention to the mode of distribution, we are also getting additional buses. Next time when the buses come, I will make sure that I will go to the I have to find out from them that people are complaining that it is shared screwed either towards them or in favor of them. So they should look at the mode of their distribution, which is very important, because there must be an equitable distribution. It will be unfair that a group of people will have about 10 or 20, whilst others don't have. So, Madam, I've taken your concerns into consideration. I will read them, I will find out from, but I can assure you that we are getting more buses, which will enable us to do more distribution, and maybe I will take special interest in you. Your request is met.
Honorable Minister, said procurement is completed, you're building the buses. What happened to the program to import the chassis to Ghana and build the buses locally? In 2005, 2006, 2007, for Metro Mass, they were importing the chassis and building the buses in Kumasi at the new plan. What happened to that program?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you are right. The arrangement, you see, initially, when Metro Mass was established, there was government-to-government arrangement with the Belgium and the Netherlands company, who provided them with these buses and with this chassis engine, and they helped to set up the facility at Kumasi to do it. Somewhere along the line, which I wasn't, I don't know what happened. Either the arrangement came to an end or something happened. So the supply of the chassis numbers plus other bodies that they needed to repair the old ones and others were not coming. So when I assumed office, it was one of the projects that I decided to pursue. So I met the Belgian government to say that, look, we started this thing with us. Your buses are strong on our roads. So they gave us this concessional loan, plus some commercial loan. And the arrangement was that, yeah, let's start afresh. That's why we have started afresh. Going forward, they will come to refurbish the workshop at Kumasi, so that the old arrangement that we started with them, we can now renew it. So it's something that we are working on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, please, if this committee confirms your appointment and you continue to be transport minister, what are your plans for the Unity Terminal that the GPHA has constructed for container activities? What are plans to utilize it to its full capacity?
Unity Terminal. That what he said?
Unity Terminal at home. The
At
Ghana
home.
Ports and Harbors Authority here.
Yes, thank you very much, madam. Yes, in 2015, 2014, GPHA secured funding for this terminal at home. At that time, the MPS project had not taken off. So the thermal port was becoming congested. So the idea was that they would move all the containers to the home terminal, as he said. Then this project came in. So we have enough space at thermal port now. But my information from GPHA is that they are all relocating some of their terminals to Pong so that they can offload their portion of the cost. Now GPHA is handling about thank you. GPHA is handling about 20% of the container business at the port there. So they will then transfer all their trucks to Pong terminal. I think that they will finish. They are supposed to finish the construction of the place around June or August this year. And when we finish, we will then move the Golden Jubilee or the other terminal, which is within the port, to Pong, so that you ease the space for other activities. So we are going to put the place into very useful use.
Yes, I'll go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Let's get back to frontier services. Frontier services. At the airport, vaccinations and health issues are handled by port health services. Port health, they handle health-related issues. At the airport, you are not aware. Okay. I assume that he is aware. This agreement was signed between Frontier and Ghana Airport Company. Was it just a license to use the space, or in the agreement, did they advert their mind to the fact that this company was coming to carry out a health-related issue? Who is taking the samples? Are they Ghana Port Health staff, or are they staff of Frontier Services? And who is generally overseeing the health-related issues? And in the agreement, were they concerned about how much they were charging for the service?
Mr. Chairman, I've said it here that my admission to the House was to confine myself to the role that the Ghana Airport Company played in this place. And what I've also said it here, the Ghana Airport Company's role was to run the space for the people to carry out a laboratory services operation. That is it.
So theirs was just to lease out space for people to carry out laboratory services, to turn the airport into a laboratory, and not to be concerned about who they were, who was supervising them, how much they were charging individuals for using the airport to carry out laboratory services. They were not concerned about fees that were being collected. They were more concerned only about the rent that would be paid to them.
Honorable colleague, he says that this is his briefing. He was not the minister then. So let's work with what information he has received and is sharing with the House.
So when they were giving him the briefing, he didn't ask them all these questions that Ghanaians are interested in. He didn't ask any of those questions. That's why I assume that we are vetting him to be a minister.
And we would expect that our minister will, I know you would have asked all these questions. I mean, Napo, I know you would have asked all these questions. I mean, or you wouldn't have asked these questions, because we have met him to be our minister.
Don't address me and ignore their sides, please.
Yeah, so yeah, because he, other ministers came, including the health minister, including the information minister. Every minister came here, and all of them asked us to hold on, and then when he comes, he will answer all our questions. Oh, we're all witnesses. They all told us that we should wait. The minister who is in charge of aviation will answer all our questions.
I don't remember. What I remember was the question was whether they had seen the agreement. That's what they all were asked. They had not seen the agreement. He came with the agreement. He says, even willing to give us a copy. So he has answered our question relating to the agreement and even willingness to give us a copy. But what happened before around, he was not, you and I were not there.
Minister for Transport nominee. COVID is with us. Public transport, intra and interstate transport is under you. And then general transport industry across the country. What have you done to limit the chances of COVID being transmitted in public transport vehicles across the country?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, public transport, as all sectors in our economy, is being affected or has been affected by the COVID. I think that the health experts have issued a rating that the protocol that we all need to follow in order to protect ourselves. And that's why we continue to urge people, both the operators and the commuters, that the advice about public health, they should take it serious by washing of their hands, sanitizing their drink and other things within the short to medium term. Mr. Chairman, whether we like it or not, COVID has come to stay with us. I am of the known that countries have started manufacturing COVID buses. And in the long run, that is where we need to go. In terms of spacing, in terms of sanitizing the buses and other things. And we are in discussion with the Korean government. The ones they've started manufacturing those buses, that is where we need to go. But that's going to be the long term. It's not going to be other 6 months or 1 year from them. But for now, we need to encourage them and educate them to follow the protocol that has been put in place by the public health experts.
Last one. Transport vehicles, ordinary vehicles, their condition and etc. The exhaust fumes from them is one major cause of environmental pollution. Old vehicles and how they are managed, i.e. in garages and being left, unattended to and all that, getting, rusty, and then the reaction with other chemicals in the environment, all those really impact on environment. What would you be doing to assist the Minister of Environment to check environmental pollution resulting from public transport?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Member is right that carbon dioxide from vehicles is contributing immensely to the quality of air in our system. And if you know, Ghana was a signatory to this Paris Agreement about 170 countries with a view to reduce this emission and greenhouse problem that we are facing. Mr. Chairman, before I even proceed, the minister, when he was at the Ministry of Environment, Science, Innovation and Technology, did a yeoman's job. They started this project of electric bus, acquisition of electric bus, in order for us to veer off from this carbon dioxide. Mr. Chairman, it will interest you to know that Europe has come out with a directive that by 2030, they will move or they will get away with all these cars, diesel and petrol cars off their street. Yes, they will get it off their street. The Americans are saying that in 2050 or 2045, the British people are saying that they are gearing towards zero emission. So we don't need to stay and fold our arms. So, Mr. Minister, the project that we started, we've gone far with it. Together, we've gone to Global Climate Fund. We have had a discussion with them. The Ministry of Finance has also had discussion with our development partners to implement the legal framework in terms of these electric buses and also to go the way of electric buses. So this is why we've gone far with our development partners, and I'm hoping that if we are from the legal framework stage, we will then move into the implementation stage of really unleashing the electric buses into our system. We need to work in tandem with times to make sure that we go with technology. Other than that, we will be left back, and the time will come that you will not have anybody to come to our aid. So the President and Finance Ministry, and together with myself, are very much conscious about this particular project. But let me recommend you for the work that you started at the Ministry.
All right. Leadership, but we have already done 2 hours. If the leaders can assure me that they will finish in 30 minutes, I won't break. Otherwise, we'll break for a while and come back to continue.
The chairman, his answers will determine how soon we can leave it.
So
if he gives long answers, if he assures us that he's going to give short answers, I'm sure we may soon leave.
Very well. I'm allowing myself the first 15 minutes to see
how it goes.
If you are finished within 15 minutes, I'll not break.
Mr. Chairman, the Frontier Health Services will not leave. Earlier, he showed that he had a contract, the contract agreement with Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, Ghana Airport Company Limited. You have the agreement. And then please, who signed it? Who signed the agreement?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm talking on behalf of the Frontier Health Services.
I've mentioned the person who signed the agreement. I said Dr. Emmanuel Akwe.
He signed it as what?
Dr. Emmanuel Akwe as a director.
As director?
Director, yes.
The chairman, when the minister nominee got the contract, did he read it? The contract document that they give you, have you read it?
I've gone through.
You've gone through?
Yes.
So, in it was stated that it was to rent a space to carry out COVID tests at the airport, right?
Yes.
And in that contract, did they state the amount they'll be charging?
Mr. What I've seen in the contract, Mr. Chairman, was the royalties that Ghana Airport Company was to earn from the rent review fees. What Ghana Airport Company will earn from the people, which is $10.
You can't remember seeing in the document where they state what amount they'll be charging per passenger.
I haven't come across it in the document.
But you said that they agreed to pay $10 for every passenger that they test. Is that in the agreement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my understanding of this thing is that Ghana Airport Company was then having an agreement between them how much they will give to Ghana Airport Company and how much they will pay as rent. So maybe I don't think that their charges that they are going to charge the public is reflected in this contract.
So they agreed to pay them $10.
$10, yes.
That's why you know.
Yes.
Have you cross-checked from Ghana Airport whether they are paying $10 or they are paying $4?
They are paying Ghana Airport Company $10, but the Ghana Airport Company share with other state agencies. So maybe the $4 go to Ghana, but they are paying them for $10 for each service that they.
Is Ghana Airport Company receiving $4 or $10?
Mr. Chairman, my information is that they pay Ghana, as stated in this contract, they pay Ghana Airport Company $10.
In your briefing, did you get an idea so far how many passengers have passed through and how much Ghana Airport Company Limited has received in total?
Mr. Chairman, I did not ask them.
Will you find out maybe when you are approved whether Ghana Airport Company is truly receiving $10 or $4?
Mr. Chairman, I will.
Will you be surprised if you realize that it is $4 per person that Ghana Airport Company Limited is receiving?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going by what is stated in the contract. Yeah, they are supposed to pay Ghana Airport Company $10 for each test.
In the agreement, did this state when the agreement was going to kickstart? When the contract was going to kickstart, the date of entry into the agreement?
The date of?
The date, you know, the date they signed the agreement.
The agreement was signed in 1st September.
Come again?
1st September 2020.
1st September?
Yes.
Shaman, I just want to find out from the nominee, even though I know you are not there, but you've taken briefing. Yes. Is it the practice that when Ghana Airport Company rent out a space to any company, they don't bother themselves to find out what they are doing with the space?
What they are doing is noted. It's a general public knowledge, because it's a general public knowledge.
So they will not find it necessary to find whether by giving them those space, whoever is renting the space will have to comply with any other existing laws?
Mr. Chairman, I think it is assumed that whoever is there should follow the existing law, and whichever regulatory body which is responsible for the operation should also follow the right thing is done.
So if it is assumed, will they not monitor to be sure?
Yes. In the agreement, is it stated which regulations they would follow? Is it stated in the agreement?
No, there's nothing of that sort in the agreement.
You say it's not stated in the agreement the steps that they will follow. So once they rent it to them, the far they are concerned, Ghana Airport Company is concerned, they assume that they will comply with any other law, and it's no longer their business to ensure that there's compliance.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Ghana Airport Company may have a rules and regulations with which all their clients should follow. But so far this contract is concerned, before me, none of this is stated in this contract.
Yes, I want to find out, in his briefing, what were you told the state of Ghana Airport Company Limited is? The state, the company, Ghana Airport Company Limited, the state, the current state of the
Mr. Chairman, our current state is very bad, because our main source of revenue is this, when people fly in, that's where we get our money. Unfortunately, the COVID has reduced our revenue has gone down by about 70%. So the state of Ghana Airport Company is bad, because I'm a minister, I know that even getting to the third quarter of last year, government has to bail them out among some other state institutions to pay their workers. So their condition is very bad. As of now, unless the COVID situation improves.
In your briefing, did you get an idea how much loan they are servicing currently? How much loans they are servicing currently?
No, I may not be able to. In totality, I may not be able to.
You didn't ask in the briefing.
I know that they are servicing some loans, but I need to be very honest.
Are they having difficulty in servicing their loans that you know of?
Mr. Chairman, basically, once their revenue has gone down, it will affect the servicing of their loan. Maybe we even need to go back, and I haven't said it briefly, to go back for these lenders and see if we can renegotiate. It's done, it's always done business based on upon which you contracted a loan. If your business activities go down, maybe you can go back to your lenders to see if you can renegotiate the terms of payment of the loan.
In the briefing, did you get to be told that on 9th July 2020, the then Minister, Kofi Ada, commended them for their ability to service all their loans without defaulting?
Chairman, I don't have information to that effect.
Is there any plan to either privatize, whether public-private partnership, whether sales of any of our airport or any part of it that you know?
Mr.
In the briefing, did you come by any name called TAV, T-A-V, SUMA, S-U-M-M-A, consortium trying to engage Ghana Airport Company on Terminal 3?
To do what, Mr. Chairman? I want to look.
To partner them. To partner them.
Partner them to do?
To partner them so that they can bring in financial muscles, renegotiate their existing finances so that they can own, TAF will own 33%, SUMA will own 33%, and Ghana Airport Company will own 34%. Did you get any briefing on this?
Mr. Chairman, certain have not come to my attention. But maybe if you approve me and I go, I can find out and brief the House.
You know, Terminal 3 is one of our best babies.
Our best?
It's one of our best babies. As when I'm talking about us, I'm talking about Ghana Airport Company Limited.
Best baby?
Yes, our best baby. Our milk cow. You are aware of that?
Oh, to the extent that it's new and it's modern, why not? If you go to the airport, it is the biggest space that we have in terms of movement of people. So definitely.
Are you also in the briefing on Ghana Airport Company? Have you been told that they have sourced out maintenance?
They have done
maintenance that their staff are capable of doing to a private company.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware.
That they are paying almost $10 million annually to.
No, I'm not.
In the briefing, that didn't come up.
No.
Are you in the briefing? Did you also get briefing about the current projects that they are embarking on across the country, Ghana Airport Company?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I received some briefing that in Kumasi, for instance, they are doing the phase 2 and phase 3. In Tamale, we are doing phase 2 now. They want to adopt the Kumasi strategy by doing the phase 2 and phase 3 together. Because if we did, it reduces the cost of borrowing and other things. So I know, like I said, I know that we are on Sunyani. They are also doing Sunyani. They've just completed WA. They've completed WA in 2018. They've completed WHO in 2018. So I've received some briefing on some of the projects that they are doing.
Are you also aware, in addition to this, that you said they are fencing Kumasi Airport, they are fencing the whole airport? Did you get that briefing too?
Yes, I heard that.
Will you say, with the current financial state that they have, taking on board all these projects is healthy for Ghana Airport Company Limited?
Mr. Chairman, I know that with the current financial state started in 2020 because of the COVID. If you watch, it will interest you. In 2018, the passenger throughput was around 2.4. In 2019, we have exceeded 3 million, about 50 passengers. So their APSC had gone up, definitely. If it were not to be the COVID, Ghana Airport Company would have been in a solid situation to undertake it. I also don't know when these contracts were awarded, because if you look at the Kumasi Airport, the loan facility is not coming from the RGF of Ghana Airport Company. It's a loan that the government has contracted. So maybe Kumasi And Tamale is not having direct effect on them because the money is not coming directly from their RGF. It's the loan that the government of Ghana contracted to undertake these two projects. The only place I know is the Sunyani, which they awarded a contract by using their RGF, which is being affected by the unexpected COVID situation. So for Kumasi and Tamale, they are not being affected. They can still go ahead with it because the money they are using for the project is not coming from the RGF.
What about the fencing of the whole airport and Kumasi airport? Are you aware of the funding that they are using to do that?
I'm not aware, but I'm assuming that it is part of the loan that they are contracted. But I'm just assuming, but maybe I can also find out and come back.
Yeah, obviously it's not part of the loan.
Okay, fine.
And obviously it's also having a toll.
If you say so, I will not challenge you.
It's also having a toll on their finances. Then, are you also aware of the construction of the apron, a new apron in the north? Yes.
Yes, I've been briefed that they contracted it as part of the RGF. They use the RGF too because the apron is due. They need to do it. Unfortunately, they were hit. So there are plans by Minister of Finance to take up this loan initially and pay, so that if their situation becomes better, they can then offload the loans back to them. So some of these projects are time-bound, and if you don't do it, you'll be downgraded by a cow. So if they don't have the money, it is the responsibility of the government of Ghana, if you want to maintain our airport within the category of the best airport, to do some of these projects. Let me tell you that our tower, at the Civil Aviation Tower, is due. ICAO has issued a warning to us that we should change the tower. We have no option. I just informed the Minister for Finance that is going to be one of the criteria with which ICAO will come and assess it. So by June, we have to start the construction. Whether as a government, whether Ghana Airport Company has money or not, the government must step in to provide them funding to do this project.
Mr. Chairman, revenue leakages at the Ghana Airport Company Limited. In your briefing, did you hear about Le Concierge Club?
I haven't heard the name before.
You've not heard?
No.
In the briefing, you've not heard that they are trying to outsource the commercially important persons unit of the Terminal 3?
I haven't heard it.
And I hope you take interest to know who are they, whether there's any contract, and who are behind it, and whether this is not something that we should do on our own, looking at the situation that we are, instead of just outsourcing it to private companies, when we can run it ourselves and make additional income for the Ghana Airport Company. The Terminal 1, the Magdan Aviation, did you get the contract?
Yes.
Have you gone through?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a copy of the contract. Like I said this afternoon, this evening to you, is that the contract that I have cited is a contract between Ghana Airport Company Limited and Magdan Logistics Services, January 2019, for a 15-year concession period. That is what I know about.
Even though I know you were not the minister then, couldn't you have believed that if Ghana Airport Company Limited had done this transaction directly with the U.S. business, would have fetched the Ghana Airport Company Limited more money than just outsourcing it to a private person?
Chairman, I don't know when Ghana-US agreement was signed, but I know that Ghana Airport Company and Magdan's agreement was January 2019. I don't know which one preceded the other. But if you ask me, if the Magdan contract preceded the agreement with the Americans, I don't know what the Americans specifically asked for the space, the down floor of Terminal 1. If indeed that is so, then automatically at that time they need to go to Magdan. And my additional information is that they also requested, they were using the base for their field-based operation within the West African sub-region, and they needed a logistics company to do the distribution for them. I'm not saying that the two are one, but I'm saying that if at the time that they came in, the place had already been rented to Magdan, there is necessitated that the American dealt with him. If the agreement was in place before the Magdan, then then we can have maybe some concerns with it. But once I'll be able to tell you the time that they had a contract with Ghana, that January 2019. I don't know when the American came in with a request for the use of Terminal 1.
I want to find out from him, from the briefing that you had, did you get the idea that Magdan is indebted to them, to the Ghana Airport Company Limited?
Mr. Chairman, I have not been briefed that Magdan is indebted to them. If indeed he's indebted to them, they must find a way to get their money from him.
The rent that he's owed is about 2.1 million, concession fee about 3.8 million, premium for freight forwarders about 2.1 million, logistics center and warehouse at the Korea enclave about 359,000 Ghana cedis, land acquisition as sprinters about 168,000, totaling 8.665219.37 million Ghana cedis.
Mr. Chairman, this is worrying, and I don't know the terms. I don't know when he's supposed to pay them. If indeed what you are saying is that it's true, this is a commercial transaction, and I'm expecting Ghana Airport Company, if those debts are due, to take all the necessary steps to recoup their money. If it is that they are relying on their work, I will just go in, ship them to make sure that not only Magdan, but anybody who owns us, we collect our money from the person, whether Magdan or any client who is at the airport and is not paying him.
So assurance given is that when given this nod, you ensure that these monies are collected and collected prompt.
Sure. Money.
Mr. Chairman, why are we not interested in privatizing the local airports, Kumasi, Sunyani, Takoradi, so that people can come and invest rather than people wanting to take part of what we have already invested and that is doing good?
Mr. Chairman, I am not coming. The honorable member has brought a very brilliant idea. I will consult him and see how you can help me to shape the operations of the airport. So, honorable member.
Chairman, is that what the Tamale one? Maybe Honorable Haruna Idusu may be interested in investing in that, but he should rather desist from trying to get the juicy one, the hanging fruit, which is Accra. I mean, no, there's no any good example anywhere in the world where people have privatized the international airport and in the long run have benefited. So let's take that and make sure that if people are interested in developing our aviation industry, let them enter into the area that is not yet developed, develop it and make the money. But they shouldn't want to ride on the back of the well-developed one that is already doing well to make the unnecessary money.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'll consult the honorable member too.
Why, I don't know whether you took this briefing, why are they interested in doing another asphalt overlay on a runway that is meeting standard? It is okay by International Civil Aviation Organization, just doing an asphalt overlay on a runway that is already good. Why?
Mr. Chairman, I think that I'm not going there, I'll find out, but I think that some of these asphalt overlays have time duration with which we need to replace them. I don't know if the time is due, but I'll check and find out.
Yes, so what I will encourage you to do is that there's a deliberate attempt, in my view, I may be wrong, that to overburden the Ghana Airport Company with a lot of investment that its finances cannot shoulder, to pave way for people to justify why privatization or private participation is necessary. So as we are going, I hope that you take clue and ensure that during this period, it's not the time to be taking too many finances on the balance sheet of a company that is doing so well, so that people don't take advantage to say that because it is not doing well, they will have to come and partner us to take us out of our financial difficulties.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have taken the advice of the honorable member in good faith. But Mr. Chairman, some of these projects too are time bound. I can always come in to meet the international standards, requirement of safety and regulation. They don't joke in security, they don't joke with it. That is why they always check some of these things. Like I said, I did promise you that I have no knowledge about what you are saying. You are alleging that the project that people are doing just overburden them so that their balance sheet will become weak. Then you can justify what you are alleging. I don't have any information to it. But I will check, I will revert if it is necessary. But for now, I will not be able to speak to it or deny what you are saying.
Mr. Chairman, the Bonkra it's been delayed over even my lifetime in this parliament. How long I've stayed in this parliament. Was there any special reason that caused for that unnecessary delay that he knows about the Bonkra in Lamport? Was there any reason for that excessive delay in completing that project that you know of?
Mr. Chairman, maybe, I don't know, but so far as I'm concerned, maybe it's a decision by various governments whether to do certain projects or not. I know that this project, they started this project around 2006, 2004, 2005, and 2007. I don't know for a reason why they stopped up to. We have decided to continue the project. So I don't know.
Did you have any reason yourself for delaying not to start working on it for 4 years? You only went and cast salt for its restart in November. If I remember, is it November 3rd or 5th that you went and cast salt with His Excellency the President?
Did I do what?
I said, was there any special reason that you also delayed it for 4 more years and only went in to cut the salt in November 2020 instead of maybe probably January 2017? Was there any special reason?
Mr. Chairman, Parliament gave me the approval in September 2020 that we can then hire this strategic investor to do the project at Bonkra. I came to this house to seek approval. And in September, we needed to go through the procurement process to come. Because when I was in the office, the World Bank, together with the government of Ghana in 2012, had concession a transactional advisor, Pricewaterhouse, to do studies into this project, to find out their viability. And they presented the report to us in end of 2018. We did a market sounding early January 2019. And we started the procurement process. So we needed to go through the processes in order so that we don't fail the procurement.
Yes, Chairman, I just want to find out, are there any timelines that you expect to get the Bonkra project completed and functioning?
Mr. Chairman, there are timelines, unfortunately, unless you give me the opportunity, I don't have the document, but there are timelines within the contract with which they are supposed to finish phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3.
So is it going to take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
I don't want to
10 years.
But I think that the phase 1 is supposed to take. Mr. Chairman, I prefer not to guess because I can come back always with the correct records.
Mr. Chairman, earlier he was asked about the GCNet and the Unipass, right? Well, it's Pastor ahead, Minister. You don't like the story. What was the problem with the GCNet that the Unipass was coming to resolve?
Mr. Chairman, I have said that the port belonged to Minister of Transport, but the systems, the end-to-end system of operation belongs to Ministry of Trade and Finance. They will be the better people to explain the decision that they took. The concession was not under the jurisdiction of Minister of Transport.
And you weren't interested in what were the issues? All you knew was that there was a system, another is changed. You, the one who runs the port, you don't care. Because the other systems are managed by other ministries. You, the one, the main actor, you aren't interested. Is that what you're saying?
Even if he's interested, he's not competent to ask questions on it. The procurement, everything was done by other ministries. So,
Mr. Chairman, it's only fair that he, the one who operates the port, even as others come with the system, should be able to tell us, we used to have this challenge, there was delay, there was this difficulty, and therefore, because I want to believe that those who are bringing the system don't do it in isolation with Minister of Transport. They will always do it together with them.
We have private operators here on site. the Forex Bureau. Right, we grant them the space to operate their own business here. If they change their management, it will not be fair to ask the Speaker or the Marshal to answer why they changed their.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, if you care to know, the clerk will definitely have, because in signing the agreement, at any time they want to change hands in the use of the space, they were to get back to us.
No, management. They won't tell you about management. This is about management.
Anyway, I just want to find out Metro mass transport. Some of the major challenges that are there and how you hope to overcome them.
Mr. Chairman, the basic problem, there are two problems at Metro Mass today. That the renewal of their fleet, which are, some of them are overstayed their scrap value and they are still on the road, which is causing them to use whatever money they do for them to repair. Anytime the buses go, they need to come back and repair something. So we've taken a decision that all those overaged scrap vehicles which are on the road, we take them off the road. So our major concern now to how to renew the fleet, which we've started. Like I said, we'll be able to acquire 100. Parliament has given us approval for another 100. There's another facility, Korea Exim Park, which government is trying to secure for both government institutions like Metro Mass and STC and the private sector. Another challenge, Mr. Chairman, is revenue leakage, which the management has put in place strenuous system to curtail it. But I will not be able to stay because if I stay here, they know they will change their mode of operation. I think that that's one area that management is putting in place to stop revenue leakage. So the renewal of fleet, which government is determined to renew their fleet, because most of their fleet are, let me say, out of use, and we are still putting them some on the road, which is not helping the company. And second, the measures we need to put in place to drop revenue leakage, which management has put some in place and they are implementing them.
Asiamah, will you want to consider public-private partnership in that area to be able to help in the finances? Because you know government revenues or government GOG is not something that you can always rely on.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, it is so. As I'm talking to you now, we are in arrangement with the two private sector companies. One came to the Ministry of Trade, which they directed them to us. One, because they supply buses to Metro Mass, they are comfortable. When they came and we showed them the system that we put in place, they think that with the current fare that we are charging, if we're able to adhere or implement those systems, they can still recoup their money. So we are in discussion with private companies, like you rightly said, to get some buses from them. We need to change mode of our financing of our buses. We don't need to rely on government. Once we put in place the system, and the people know that they can recoup their investment. So now we have two companies on standby to do a partnership with us for a system. We put in place the system. They are bringing us about between 400 buses, 200, and they think that they can recoup their money. So we are diversifying our mode of financing of these buses.
Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Is that I don't know which minister are we expecting to be able to overcome this frontier health services. National minister, everybody, he kept ruling. Oh, let's see the transport minister. Now he has come, and it's still not over.
Mr. Chairman, I think that
it's over. It's all right.
I don't know. What you want me to answer Minister of Health question?
You brought the agreement.
Do you want me to answer Minister of Health question?
Honorable Minister, all we want is a copy of the agreement. Once they get a copy, if anybody has any subsequent questions, it will come out. Yes, Honorable.
Speaker, Chairman, Honorable Nominee, if I can have your attention, you have spoken to the challenges, as was asked by the minority chief, challenges at the Metro Mass, and you rarely identify concerns about the buses, spare parts, and all that. Honorable Nominee, I don't know if this come up to your attention, the Metro Mass. Apart from the challenges you mentioned, there are also lingering concerns relating to staff welfare. I concede you mentioned the leakage of revenue, staff welfare, and corporate governance. some frustrated staff are resorting to social media, pouring out their hearts and saying all sorts of things. Can you assure this committee that given the nod, you will institute good measures to unearth or confirm what the challenges are and also deal with it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, indeed the issue of welfare dissatisfaction had come to my attention. The management, because it had been a long-term issue, the management is working on it. Unfortunately, like I said, our basic problem is that we don't have enough buses to be able to generate enough revenue to pay some of their welfare issues. But going forward is something that we are going to talk, and I'll give you assurance that we will resolve that matter.
Our government promised some time back a home-based career. What has been the progress on this plan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in 2017, government gave approval to then Minister, Honorable Siadapa, cabinet approval to engage private people in forming this home-based career. Honorable Kofi continued, and I can tell this out that we've done a lot of work in this area.